People are just joining, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody, and a special welcome to Molly Magee. Today, we have Molly Magee, who is known in a number of circles. Molly is Executive Director of SENEDIA, Southeastern New England Defense Industry Alliance. Additionally, and relevant to this, she is the Executive Director of the Undersea Technology Innovation Consortium. So welcome, Molly. We also have a couple other people here that are relevant to the hosting of this, and that would be folks from the Northeast Tech Bridge, as well as the 401 Tech Bridge, working hand in hand as partners. We have Steve Bordenaro on the line, who is the Northeast Tech Bridge Director out of Newark. We've got Christian Cowan, who is with us, and he is the 401 part of the COIN Tech Bridge Executive Director, along with Mary Johnson, the 401 Tech Bridge Manager, and Susan Daly, who is our very close 401 Tech Bridge partner. So with that, Molly, if you could share with us your thoughts about the OTA and the UTIC, and tell us a little bit more about the consortium, please.
Thank you, Lee. And I'll just share my screen here quickly. And thanks everybody for giving up some time today to get some insight on the Undersea Technology Innovation Consortium. As some background, UTIC is an outgrowth from and a strategic partner with SENEDIA, the Southeastern New England Defense Industry Alliance. SENEDIA decided to help form another organization, UTIC, back in late 2016. And we did that because it was apparent, well, SENEDIA is an industry alliance. We saw undersea technology as being a very strong thrust for many of our member companies. And I think we all know Rhode Island and Southeastern New England is really the hub of undersea technology. So we created UTIC, which is a 501c3 research-focused organization. And the vision was, how can we promote rapid prototyping and help technology companies get their technology to market as quickly as possible? Fortuitously, slightly after we formed the company, and by the way, I want to give Lee a shout out. Lee worked on the beginning of UTIC with us and was instrumental with us getting it up and running. Newark came out with an opportunity for another transaction agreement focused on undersea and maritime technology. I'll go into a little bit about what OTAs are, but they're a special type of contract. And we were very honored in June of 2018 to have UTIC be awarded the OTA for undersea and maritime technology. Now, this agreement basically enables the Navy and in fact DoD and potentially other government organizations to leverage a partnership with traditional and non-traditional defense contractors. And the differentiation is there is a non-traditional defense contractor is one that hasn't done a certain type of cost accounting, but what it's really focusing for is those companies who may have never done business with DoD, as well as the small technology companies. How can we help get their technology to meet DoD needs? And the thrust of it is, how can we identify and transition innovation to meet DoD needs while reducing cost and reducing the time to get it fielded? At the bottom here, the Silicon Valley of undersea technology, Rhode Island and Southeastern New England definitely is. We are the hub. We reach out to other parts to help do it. And that was coined by two Secretary of Defenses during Defense Innovation Days, referring to us. So it's not just us saying it. So again, at a very high level, the Consortium Basics for an OTA, it's an enterprise partnership between the government and a consortium of companies. The government can be a single sponsor or you can pool sponsors together. The consortium is made up of for-profit, nonprofit, academia, small and large companies, and that important non-traditional type company who's a small company and or company that's never done business with DoD. The parties are connected through a binding contract-like instrument called the other transaction. And the key to it is it does not invoke all the normal federal acquisition regulations. So it's agile and it's flexible. A key piece of the OTA is companies can negotiate their IP rights, their intellectual property rights, if they're in discussions to do a prototype for the government. So why use the OTA? Certainly it's speed and cost. So DoD, I think we see it everywhere. We see it through the tech bridges, the need to get innovative technology developed and fielded as quickly as possible. As I said, this OTA is for undersea technology and innovative maritime systems. I talked about the non-traditional firm. And one of the keys of the OTA is communication and collaboration. And I'll go into that in a little bit, but that's a key part of it. From the beginning of discussions, there's communication with the government and industry, industry to industry, and then that wraparound collaboration. And we're very proud to say this award has established UTIC as the DoD focal point for undersea and maritime technology innovation. So on 4 June, we were awarded this. It's a 3-year agreement with options up to 10 years. So it's got longevity. We currently have over 300 member organizations. And again, this is a mix of industry, large and small companies, academia, and nonprofits. To date, there has been over $250 million awarded in prototype awards. It's been made to 38 UTIC members. Another key of another transaction is the government has a proposal, has a need. They put it out. Members of the consortium, if they have the ability to meet that need, put together what's called an enhanced white paper. It's a streamlined proposal. It comes in, the government looks at that, and they basically have 3 choices of what they can do. They can accept it and award it, and off you go. They can say, nope, sorry, it doesn't meet any of our needs. But the third and the most powerful is they can put it in the basket. And we have 138 proposals to date in the basket. And what the basket is the ability for the government at any point in time over a 3-year period from the time a topic goes in the basket to be able to pull it for award without further competition. So powerful. The drumbeat of how the government releases their needs is twice a year in October and April. This past October, we just had the government, we did our virtual industry day. The government announced the topics. With each announcement of topics does come an industry day. And as I said, we did it virtually this time. In the future, we hope to get back to in person because again, it really enhances the communication and the collaboration. Of note, at any time, if there is an emergent government need, ad hoc awards can be made so ad hoc topics can be put out, and that has happened several times. And just to give you an indication of our member base, our 300 plus members, 74% are non-traditional. So again, that's what the government is looking for, those small companies and those companies that have never done business with the government but have unique technology. 70% are small, 24% are large, and 6% are academia and nonprofit. And you'll notice we 24 non-traditional and 70% small business. Large businesses could be non-traditional if they've never done cost accounting work or even any work with DoD. We now have members from 35 states. So while we are definitely the hub of undersea technology, there's a lot of technology throughout the country that we're able to capture in our consortium. There are 26 technical focus areas identified under our agreement. I'm not going to read through all of them, but you'll see they're pretty diverse, like autonomy, bio-inspired sensors, undersea warfare imaging, multi-domain fusion, passive sensing. There's really strong breadth and depth here, and it's all focused on getting innovative undersea and maritime technology. I told you I'd get back to the communicate and collaborate piece of this. We see this as the key model for how our consortium works under the other transaction agreement. It really is a partnership. It is collaboration. So on the outside ring, you've got communicate, collaborate, innovate, demonstrate. Communicate starts at the very beginning when the government identifies their needs. Then there's instant collaboration where industry can reach out to the government to say, can I understand more of what you're looking at? Did you ever think of maybe this as an option? That collaboration can continue right up until the time that the company submits their proposal. Now that's much different than normal contracting. In normal contracting, any discussion between the government and industry ends as soon as the announcement, the request for proposal hits the street. But this is different. Remember, the purpose of this is how do we get innovative technology? And to really do that, you've got to keep that communication and collaboration. Then we go around to innovate. Certainly that's the key part of, getting the technology and then demonstrating it. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. So it really is a partnership of government, industry, and academia doing the communicate, collaborate, innovate, and demonstrate, and all laser focused on developing innovative technology supporting DoD's needs. So one of the interesting parts of UTIC is our partnership with the Naval Undersea Warfare Center, and specifically their Advanced Naval Technology exercise. For those who don't know, this is an annual event that Newark Division Newport puts on, and I think those of you who have been around know that other DoD components have started doing ANTX. Of note, Newport was the first one to do it, so kudos to them. But it's the, again, focus on how can we get technology to the fleet as quickly as possible. And part of that is how can we demonstrate prototypes to the fleet to get their input of does it meet their needs. So under the ANTX model, which UTIC fits in purposely, not purposely, nicely, is you have this cast for what innovative prototypes exist. How can we collaborate, get people together, make sure that the prototype meets a need, and then get it into a field demonstration with the ultimate goal of having that technology delivered to the fleet. So it's really connecting Navy to emerging technologies. And I'll go back to it. So communicate, collaborate, innovate, and then the demonstrate part, which is what is the powerhouse to get it delivered to the fleet. So if you're interested in UTIC, I would suggest you first go to our website, which is underseatech.org. There's a join button. There are some criteria to be able to join. There's a consortium membership agreement which stipulates how we operate and how awards will be made. There's a membership agreement. I called the DD 2345 the ticket to ride. This is a joint logistics agency certification that you must have before we can accept your membership. And what it does basically at the highest level, you are certifying by accepting that when you get it, that you will protect the critical military technology that is associated with UTIC and the OTA. Membership is limited to US firms or US-based affiliates of a foreign firm. But if it's the latter, you've got to have the foreign ownership, control, and influence, the DSS letter and the signed export form to us before, again, we can apply that, approve your application. There's no free lunch in life, as we all know. So there is a cost to joining, but it's really low because we want to make the barrier as low as possible, especially for those small technology companies to come in. So annual dues for a large business is $1,500. For a small business, it's academia and nonprofits, it's $500. And for affiliate members, and that would be where you have a large business and one of their other divisions wants to join. So they've already joined at the $1,500 level. Their affiliate divisions can join at a $500 level. So the annual dues, that's every year. If you get awarded a prototype project, there's a fee assessed, and the dues and this fee is what keeps the consortium going. That's our operating expense. And right now it's 1% of government funds awarded. It's funds you actually get, so you have to have the award for that amount of dollars before you pay it. The UTIC Board of Directors evaluates this on a periodic basis. And in fact, in June, we reduced the project award assessment from 1.5% to 1%. So we constantly look at that. We fully understand that we're a nonprofit. We're not here to make money. And so again, this coming June, July, we will take another look at it. I can tell you that the 1% fee is pretty standard across most of the DoD consortiums. There's one exception that comes to mind, but for the most part, that's pretty standard. So I mentioned we've got our forward-facing website. Certainly, if you go there, you'll find up-to-date information. You will find a list of our members. So you'll see who's on that. It'll give you the consortium management agreement, so you can take a look at that and see if that's something that you're interested in. If you want to, potentially apply for membership. The actual membership agreement is right online. It's all automated. So if you do that, it flows right in. And then this is the link that if you are a member, this takes you to the member only website, which I'm not showing too much here because it is member only. The key to the member only website and some real power again in belonging to the consortium is the information you get. So certainly on the member only website, when the government releases their topics, their request for prototype topics, we put that out on the members only data site. We also have some other very interesting things there. One of them is our collaboration database. So you as a company can identify what are the areas your technology is in. Would you like to partner with somebody? How you would like to partner. So members can always go in real time and look at that database. What we do is when there is a drop of topics, going back to the October and April biennial drop of topics, at the time after the industry happens, we do two things. We first have a webinar on how to submit an enhanced white paper against one of the topics if you're so interested. So this is good for new members to get insight into what's needed. The second thing we have is a speed networking. And I call this so important to companies, whether you ever get an award or not through UTIC, you have the ability to talk about your company, your technology, your abilities to 300 people. So we give everybody who wants to do it, you get a quad chart and you get 4 minutes to talk about it and share what you can do. There's other information, obviously, that we put on the database when awards are made. Those will go on there so people will know who was awarded. I'll say one other thing right now. Having the members only website certainly is a benefit of membership, but it's also a way to protect data. And I think everybody who's on this call probably understands that the undersea domain data is very critical. And while oftentimes it's classified, you don't want to aggregate too much data together. So by doing it this way, we know that anybody who goes in and sees this data has already certified through that DD 2345 that they understand the criticality of protecting technology data. Once you join UTIC, you get access to our members only data site within a day or two. And I'll leave with this before I open it up for questions. You know, when I look at the big picture, what does the UTIC OTA enable? It really enables the art of the possible. And this is just a conceptual vision of 2045, put whatever date you want on there. But what will be the undersea domain needs at that point? And how will the undersea domain play in the battle space needed at that time? And it's really the art of what will be the needs, what can we do? We may have a technology that will help before we have even identified a need. So it's pretty powerful stuff. And I think we all understand that no one domain operates by itself anymore. It's all in a cross-domain environment. And so again, it's the art of the possible of how we as a consortium can help the Navy and DoD meet their technology needs today and tomorrow. So I will stop there and see if there's any questions.
Molly, thank you so much. Very, very informative. And having left on the art of the possible with day 2 of the vaccine rollout happening in incredible speed in the last 6 months, anything is possible when we put our minds to it. And with our, not only our national system here, the DoD network, but also specifically in the undersea arena and in our very regional ecosystem. When we put our minds together, we can do almost anything. So thank you. You do have a question, Molly, that came out of the chat room. And the question is, how does digital engineering services like software, mechanical, digital tools, tool integration for design and automation come into play?
It certainly comes into play. So again, depending on the topic the government puts out, digital engineering, all of this could play right into it. So I see it as certainly if a company has these skills, partnering with maybe a technology company that doesn't, to marry them to get up to a real product, a prototype that meets those needs.
Excellent. Thank you, Molly. On a little bit different note, you covered a lot of the benefits of the very broad and diverse membership base, but can you say a few things about a membership base that has in it the teamwork of the prime contractors, as well as a myriad of small companies, entrepreneurs, startups, other technology companies, but the benefit of having that ability to connect with primes in this defense ecosystem?
Absolutely, and that's another benefit. If you're a small company, we've got all the major primes in here, so it gets you exposed to them. The other thing I want to mention is, again, I've said a number of times, this is really focused on the non-traditional companies, but the large primes are members. And I will tell you, the large primes have won some of the prototype awards. But an important caveat is, if a prime puts in a proposal, they've got to show significant non-traditional participation in their proposal. And if they don't do that, then they have to do 1/3 cost share. So we all know that means they show large participation by non-traditionals. And we've seen that in the awards. So again, it becomes a partnership. And I say to people, there's really huge benefits in UTIC for what we put out, but there's bigger benefits in the network that you as a company can build with the other 300 companies that are in there that may result, and I know in cases where it has for small businesses, in supporting the prime directly outside of the consortium environment.
Yeah, perfect. Another little tangent here. You talk about, the OTA being for technology prototype projects, and a lot of folks that are new to DoD, think of prototypes as needing to be a physical structure that goes off and physically can be tested. Can you expand upon the prototype concept and some of the capabilities that we've been able to prove out under the banner of prototype?
That's a great question. So prototyping, it has depth and breadth. Certainly at one end, it's something in the water from an undersea perspective, but it's also a model that can demonstrate capabilities before you even go to the hard development of the product. So yes, prototype has a wide definition, and depending on the needs of the government customers, at times they may ask for a model, at other times it may be far enough along that they ask for the physical prototype.
Yeah, Molly, thank you. Another topic, we talk about, the group here that's well versed in DoD opportunity, R&D, certainly has heard of, I'm sure, SBIRs, Small Business Innovative Resource Programs, STTRs, and they go after, probably familiar with going after phase 1 and phase 2 to get research and development furthered. Coming out of phase 2, though, oftentimes we think something has to go to phase 3 in order to continue its a technology or a solution development to get into the field. Can you say a few things about what you might have seen or the potential in what comes out of research and development and can go into an OTA relative to being sponsored to get that technology into the fleet faster?
That's another great question. So SBIR, STTR, so people, you probably understand, but for those who may not, how they get funded, for all RDT&E dollars within the Department of Defense, there's a percentage that gets taken off the top. And that's what funds the SBIR, STTR. So they're not program specific when they're awarded. They're broader than that. They're at the research level. After you come through a phase 2, you're right, Lee, you could get an SBIR phase 3, which allows program offices or customers to go in and take advantage, hook up with you to do that. But you could also do that through the OTA. OTAs are funded with program dollars. So unlike SBIR and STTR, which is, the research at the higher level, OTA is funded for a direct need of a program.
Thank you. And one last question that or topic, you talk about the DD 2345 and how it's essential and kind of your last maybe long pole in the tent to get in or last ticket to entry type of thing. Those folks not familiar with DoD work sometimes in informal dialogue have gotten that confused with doing classified work. And if you could differentiate again, the purpose of the DD 2345 that you covered and the difference from needing to be classified.
Yeah, and they really are two different things. So again, the DD 2345 is an application you have to fill out. And I will tell anybody who's thinking about doing it, make sure you read the directions because the form itself does not make you put in everything that you need. If you read the directions, it will, and it will save it being returned. But it's identifying that when you have a need to get, that you'll be dealing with critical military technologies, and that need comes about if you're joining UTIC, that drives your need. It also then goes through and asks you some questions to make sure you know how to protect that and that you have systems to do that. It has nothing to do with whether something is classified or not classified. The DD 250 comes into form if something's classified. Now, most of the effort that we do through UTIC is not classified. It's critical, it's got to be controlled, but it's not classified, i.e. it's not secret or top secret. When you get into needing to play in the field of secret or top secret, that's a whole nother pathway. And that's a time-consuming pathway. You have to get a facility security clearance. And there's a whole bunch of steps you have to go through. And by the way, I will tell you, it takes time. But the DD 2345, you do not need to have a clearance, but you do need to understand the requirements to protect critical military technology and data.
Molly, thank you. That was very helpful. To support what you've been saying and sharing, Mary, and you might be well, probably Molly, you're not watching it as you're speaking, but many of you on here might be looking at the chat space. And Mary Johnson has posted information directly, the website on UTIC, how to apply for membership off that website, and instructions for the DD 2345 should you decide you want to go down that path. Additionally, Molly, I think you've already agreed to this, that while we've been recording the presentation, we're going to make it available on the 401 Tech Bridge website later on in the week. So you'll be able to access this information from various sources. But before we wrap up, and you've been really great to cover this, Molly, anybody else have any questions? You can take yourself on mute and ask directly, particularly Steve Bordenaro from Newick, Mary, Christian, Susan, anything that you might have been getting on the side relative to questions or clarification? Well, I think silence shows that you've actually done a really comprehensive job, Molly. Thank you so much.
I'll say one other thing, and for anybody who wants, feel free to contact me for more information. My email is Magee, so M Magee at underseatech.org. Feel free to reach out, and we have a lot of companies who want to talk through, is this right for me? It may not be right for everybody, but so that you get a better understanding if it's a fit for your company.
Fantastic, Molly. I would dare say that you'll probably hear from a couple of companies, because we've seen some interest going back and forth in the chat room. And for what you're doing for the industry, thank you very much. And for everybody that joined, thank you for your interest. Don't hesitate to reach out to any of the folks, on this call, or the names I've mentioned, and we'll help you navigate the waters relative to interest in OTAs and undersea technology.
Lee, right before you end, I'm sorry, there's one more question in the chat that I just DM'd to you.
Okay.
Lee, I can read it. I'm looking at it now.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you. Oh, yeah, but the UTIC group did. So it sounds like a good group is the issue,
Yep.
especially the companies who've not worked with the government before, to have folks to talk to. But the UTIC group does not have access to a separate line of government funding. Thus, willing projects seem to go through the standard paths, correct? And the proposals are usually sent directly to the standard customers, correct? That is a series of questions.
That is correct. And so I'll go back to the SBIR STTR is sort of the general non-program related research and development. The UTIC itself, to have the customers coming, are program offices. But I will say this, it's not the same old, it is the funding line of the program. But I think we all know that everybody is focused on innovative technology, speed, getting things to the fleet fast. So they're always looking at new ways of doing things. What I tell some companies, if you have a technology and you're not sure how it maps maybe to a program or whatever, there's a number of ways to have the ability to talk to government customers. Again, when these topics come out, you can directly call the technical point of contact on each topic and have that discussion. Also, during our industry days, when we're allowed to have them in person again, which hopefully will be sooner rather than later, it's a day-and-a-half event where, again, we have the government technical points of contact in industry, and we can have those conversations. So it is different than standard contracting. The OTA doesn't have all the FAR requirements. You can protect your IP. And for those companies that don't exactly know how your technology fits, that's who the consortium is looking for. How can we see what your technology is, and how can we allow customers to look at it and see how it can meet their needs?
And Molly, I think you'd agree that the proposal that's referenced in this question is not your standard proposal. It's, and you referenced this in your briefing, it's quite streamlined, it's quite efficient, and it gets to the heart of what is being proposed.
Absolutely. It's called an enhanced white paper. So you do have to give a high level cost proposal, but it's not down to what you have to do for other proposals. What will happen is, if you write this enhanced technical white paper, you give your estimate of cost. If the government says, yes, I'm going to go do that, they will come back for a little bit more cost information, because again, that's the due diligence that's needed. But again, from a time perspective, I think those of you who have worked in government contracts know if it's a pretty major one, you're talking up to a year, maybe beyond, from the time the request for proposal comes out until it's awarded. Here, we've been able to award as quickly as just over 30 days. We've had some that's gone longer, and I'll tell you, customers come to use the OTA for one of two reasons. One is speed. So I've got a need and I need to turn it around really quick. And so we're going to give you 30 days to do that enhanced white paper. The customer is going to turn it around pretty quick, and then the award could be made within 60 days. The other could be the customer really wants to collaborate. He's got a need. It may not be an immediate need, but he knows it's going to be coming soon. So he probably will go a little bit longer and do the back and forth discussion with industry to really finalize what he thinks his best requirement is.
Molly, thank you, thank you. And one last thing that this triggers is relative to the communication pillar that you talked about earlier. Folks are maybe familiar if they've gone down the SIBR or STTR process with that pre-release period where they can communicate with a TPOC per project. I think you'd agree, Molly, and if you could say just a couple of things about the willingness of not only the technical leads, but NUIC overall and the program manager of the OTA at NUIC to make sure that communication channel is open and people are reaching folks on the technical side to answer their questions.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Communication is at the hub of this and then flowing into collaboration. So NUIC, Tom Carroll is the NUIC program manager. He is an advocate and he reaches out and he lets the technical points of contact know the power of this and helps them to understand that this is different than regular contracting when there comes a time when you cannot communicate with industry anymore. Under this model, you absolutely can up until the point that industry submits their proposal. So it's a key tenet. The industry days, our industry days that we have twice a year, that's to drive the point of an opportunity for industry to talk to the technical points of contact. And in that case, it's in person. Technical points of contact at Industry Day will get up and give a high level discussion of what they're looking for. And then there's a lot of side conversations that happen and questions can be asked during that. So it's absolutely, that's what this model is about, the communication and the collaboration that leads to the innovative technology that gets to the fleet.
Fantastic. Molly, thank you. And I think unless I missed something else, I think we got everything. Molly, thank you so much. And thank you for giving us your time and everybody for joining us. And please just enjoy this sunny day before the storm comes in and stay safe and stay healthy.